So one night I roll into Weiser, Idaho, and it's freaking 91 degrees out, and I'm sitting in a park just waiting for the sun to go down. You're getting swarmed by bugs. They're in your mouth, they're on your clothes, they're on your arms. You're sweating profusely. You can't set up your bed because somebody will tell you to move along. Even if you could, you're not going to crawl in your sleeping bag because it's 90 degrees out. And so, I mean, it was just one of the most god-awful scenarios. It was about this time that my right foot really started to give me some problems. You know, I would be walking along and the sensation was that the whole foot was fracturing apart into dozens of pieces. The whole foot was just breaking apart. Excruciating pain. I know when I set out, I was really hoping to not walk along highways most of the time, but there were some days where I did a lot of highway walking, and those were not pleasant days. The asphalt is really hard on your feet, plus you got the heat kicking up off the blacktop in the middle of the day. It's just brutal. In addition, sleep deprivation starts to wear on you, mentally and emotionally. You know, it'd be so hot that I couldn't fall asleep until midnight or later, and then I would wake up around 6, and I would want to keep sleeping, but I would realize I have to get up, I have to get that pack on, I have to break camp and get moving because this is the coolest part of the day. And if I spend it sleeping, you know, I'm going to really regret it later on in the day when it's 95, 100, 104, and there were really days like that. So the longer that went on, the more sleep deprived I would become and the more fatigued and vulnerable to sickness and injury I would become because my body wasn't restoring itself anymore. Living homeless out there in the bushes, you learn to seek out places like libraries or a McDonald's because you know, it doesn't cost you much and you just get out of the heat. So I kind of learned you walk all morning, maybe till noon or 1 in the afternoon, and then you try and find some place that's cool because it really gets pretty murderous out there in the heat when you're walking along, especially if you're along the highway and you just are so desperate to get in somewhere that has cold water and some AC. And you know, that's something that the folks who are out there homeless full-time know. That, look, you can't beat the elements unless you get indoors, so they'll seek these places out too.
I've been continuously homeless this time for about 1.5 years. It started in 2003 with a very tumultuous divorce, and that was the first time I'd ever been homeless. It wasn't until 2005 that I got involved with the VA. And from 2005 to about 2008, it's been a roller coaster ride of shelters, VA programs, but nothing really in place at that time that really helped with getting permanent housing. Now in Portland, the resources have pretty much kind of dried up. It's been really difficult for vets there to get permanent housing. It's not like the VA isn't trying. I think they are, but I think in places that have lots of, that are overwhelmed with veterans on the street, there's not enough resources to meet the need. That's been my observation.
Okay. So you feel like there were a lot of vets on the streets in Portland?
Yes, in fact I know there are. I've known several. You know, I meet them along the way. Yeah. Now they're getting vouchers in Portland and in Medford. You can get a voucher, but finding a place to rent is what's difficult now. Most of the housing has got wait lists.
Because it's so taken up or so expensive.
Exactly. In places like Portland, safety is the big thing. There are a lot of illicit drugs on the street, a lot of methamphetamine use, a lot of heroin use, a lot of desperation. And because of that, it makes for a very unsafe environment. You have to sleep with one eye open. Food in Portland is not difficult to find, but having a safe place to sleep at night is the issue. The shelters are usually full. The Portland Rescue Mission, you get in there on a kind of a lottery type system. You know, they call numbers, and if your number's not called, you don't get a bed because they only have so many beds. So the sidewalk is your option. That's what's available. Around Union Station and the Greyhound bus station is the worst. It's one place that nobody wants to be after dark if you're not in that culture of drug use. You know, it's not safe at all. So I avoided that area at night. It's like night and day between Portland and Boise. And the mission where I'm staying at right now has been a lifeboat for me. It's better than sleeping on the street, but even if I had to sleep on the street here in Boise, I would still feel safer here than I would in Portland. So, and the VA is like I said, for
they move much more quickly.
They move way more quickly. I'm going to be having back surgery in a couple of weeks. If I was in Portland working with the VA for this surgery, it would be a much longer wait if I got the surgery at all, simply because it's non-life threatening. I was camping on a beach in Tampa, Florida. And this was in 2005. And I remember that because that was the year Katrina came in. But it was in June. And there was a hurricane coming in. And I didn't know it was coming. And I was camped down on this beach. And there was this homeless representative from the VA that was out beating the bushes looking for homeless vets to get them into shelter before this hurricane came in. He came up to me and asked me if I was a vet, and I said, yeah. A lot of vets, especially that short-timers like me that were discharged for medical reasons, they don't think they have any benefits. And that's one of the problems there. They are not aware that they are eligible. And this rep had my name and social run, and it came out that it was full eligibility for just about everything. And he got me off the street and into a safe place before this hurricane came ashore. And my point to that is I think that there needs to be more VA reps out on the street, beating the streets, beating the bushes, looking for these guys and trying to get them in, you know, into a safe place. Whether the weather is good or not.
Probably got another 10 miles to go, and my feet are absolutely killing me. I cannot put it into words clear enough. This absolutely sucks. You know, you're gonna see all the highlights and scenery, but you will not get how badly this hurts every day. Even with pads and insoles, it's really bad. Then there's the pack straps killing my shoulders.
I lost 9 guys in the last mission because they were all short and thinking about home, and you can't think about those kind of things when you're in the bush. And it was all basically CI stuff because it's off the books, and they don't like things like that on the books, especially for the president to know about, so they just do their own thing. Basically just they sent us in to find colonels and people that are high ranking to get rid of them, because when you get rid of the high ranking officials you kind of lose the people that are following.
Right. Cut their head off.
Yeah, pretty much. And came back without a scratch. The last 2.5 years I've been disabled. I was disabled by a VA doctor, went in with an earache, and 2 years later he did a surgery on my ear. Well, he put gentamicin in it, which is a acid. So his procedure was totally wrong. And after the last push of gentamicin, a week later I couldn't walk without a cane. And 7 months later I was in a wheelchair. And I finally got out of the wheelchair about 6 months ago. And it's been a struggle, vertigo and everything else. And I lost pretty much everything, all my possessions, everything, since that following week. I couldn't live where I lived before because I was falling down. They were calling the ambulances and stuff like that. So I moved out, and I've been on the streets ever since. And no help from the VA. I'm living in a van. And right now we have no money. We have very little food that's going to go bad because we don't have ice. We're running out of ice right now. So everything we bought is going to go bad. And that's the way it's been for 2.5 years. I've lost all my friends. What I thought were friends pretty much just kind of turned their backs on me and stuff because I was disabled. You know, people don't like disabled people around them. That's why our city streets are full of disabled veterans. They don't deprogram you from training you to kill. You come back out, and that's all you know about. And the kids that are having a problem now, which I've had for 47 years, you don't forget someone's head coming off or their body parts on you. It's something you just never forget. I don't forget the 9 guys that I lost. They says, well, we don't have records of that. Well, they don't have half the records that are places I went in the military. So their records are never complete. It's the government. They want you to do something. They send you in and do it, and then they say, thanks, bye. And that's how it is. That's how our government treats us. And it's a shame because they're going to continue to have wars, and they're going to continue to have kids coming back killing themselves because they don't have the structure and people don't want to change. And the American public just forgets about them, especially us, the baby killers, as they put them. Now they pretty much accept the war, but they didn't accept Vietnam, and they still haven't. And so we're out here. And I guess we'll always be out here. It's hell. You think maybe it'll change tomorrow, but it doesn't. It's really hard for Mika, having Mika out with me right now, because, I mean, it's one thing for me. I mean, I've lived in things before, but I've never lived like this in my life since the military. I've always had nice things, nice cars, but now I can't work, and so I'm stuck. I'm in the system, as they call it, and they feed you all kinds of pills, want to get you on these drugs and stuff for depression and everything else, but they don't take care of the situation.
Do you know they still do shock treatments? They still do shock treatments for people who are depressed.
Is that true?
Yeah, they did shock
They did it
treatments
for
on
him
me
for
for
3
3 years. I did it for 3 years, twice a month, and I lost 75% of my memory, and that's when I had them stop. That was the beginning of 1980, in the 80s, when I first moved here to Boise. And it's been 30 years, 32 years now of the worst hell I've ever had myself in.
He doesn't remember his children being born. He doesn't remember his wedding.
I don't remember any
He
of
doesn't
my life.
remember
And that
nieces and nephews'
was
names.
their attempt to cure depression out
Yeah.
of it?
Yeah.
We've had a lot of angels help us,
Yep.
people that
don't even know us.
don't even know us.
Giving us food, water,
Food.
money for gasoline.
They've done more for us than my own friends and my children. We were staying behind the VA for a while. There's a fields back there where people ride their bikes and walk, and we were parked right by the fence where they all park, and nobody's there at night, and they got upset because we were sleeping there. We left every day, but they didn't like us sleeping there, so we had to move out of
We
there.
didn't throw trash out. We didn't throw cigarette butts out.
They made me disabled, but they won't let me sleep on the property, where it's safe and they have patrols. No, you're not allowed. A place that they call home. I don't care if it's just a room with a bathroom. It's better than
Shower.
being in your car or on the street somewhere or in the forest over here in the trees where a lot of guys stay.
We see them every night coming along with their packages over bars and stuff, and they go off in the woods because this closes at dusk. So
You have to be out of here.
we have to be out of here at dusk. But I see homeless people dragging their wares, and they go off in the trees, and that's where they sleep at night.
They don't come out.
Even when it's raining.
Yeah, they don't come out until it's daylight, and then they can come back into the park. So the other time they have to be on the river, which is not a place to be. I mean,
No.
but like I said, I don't see a change coming. People don't care. People are they're in their own little worlds. She calls several times a day. I've written letters to Obama and Trump for this injury, and I haven't heard anything.
I've been to Mike Wood, the director of the VA hospital here, and no answers. He had a representative call me back on the telephone and said, well, all that paperwork, I guess you're doing the right thing. No, we're not. We need your help. And there was no help offered. None.
They need to get together as individuals from, if it's the same unit or if it's all different units, actually all different units would be good, and talk about what's happened. Bring it out amongst each other. I know your families don't want to hear it. Your friends don't want to hear it, but you need to talk about it. I buried mine for 47 years, and I damn near killed myself because I didn't want to live like this anymore. It changed my life because all the 9 guys that I lost came up in my face and said, what the f are you doing? We kept you alive.
Sergeant.
You can't take yourself out. So I'm here for the duration now. I'm going to change them. I don't know how, but I'm going to change it for the vets coming. And the vets we got now that haven't died yet. This is not a way to go out, I'll tell you. This is not the way I looked at it.
So you keep living to tell their story.
Yes.
I have to now. I can't do this. the easy way out, I guess. And I don't want anybody else to do the easy way out. Because these kids coming back now, they deserve more.
A lot of them are already committing suicide.
Yeah.
It's 21 a day.
Yeah. That adds up big time.
That's 150 a week.
Yep.
Mhm.